Why would I trust Donald Trump, whose only economic policy he's put forth would increase inflation, which are tariffs? Why would I trust him to do anything good? Can you articulate like a single policy that you think Trump would do that would be good for the average American, that would actually help the economy?
Well, I could tell you what he wouldn't have done that Democrats did do that actually crushed our economy, that actually crushed the economies around the world during COVID in particular, and that was government shutdowns. That was
when he was president. That was when he was president. There was not a single. This woman is ahistorical. They do this shit all the time. It makes me want to pull my hair out. That face that Destiny's making knows that she doesn't know what kind of she just stepped in, because Destiny is gonna pummel her and make her feel and look so unserious, because she is so unserious. All of the lockdown happened under the Donald Trump. Let me say it again. All of the lockdown happened under Donald J. Trump. There was not a single day of lockdown under Joseph R. Biden. And do you know what, guys? A lot of people on the left, a lot of Democrats wanted Joe Biden to do that. And he said, hell no, Jack, COVID's over under my watch.
Yeah, I guess the first thing is, do we agree that Donald Trump thought that Vice President Pence could choose him as the winner of the last election?
I don't know what Donald Trump thought when it came to that.
I think
that there are some legalities with how our country runs that do allow for certain procedures. A lot of them are really wonky and they get into the weeds. So there is maybe a possibility that he thought something could happen, but
okay, are you aware that Trump and Eastman wanted Pence to break the law in Congress, the Electoral Count Act? They wanted him to break that law to choose Donald Trump to remain president.
Once again, I'm not sure if that was breaking the law or if that was using an obscure procedural.
This is obviously her throwing red meat to her audience. She knows that all of the people who support her, who are in her little Patreon, who are in her members, who support her on Rumble, they're all Trump sycophants. They're all people who think on some side of the spectrum, whether it's like Trump's the anti-war candidate or I hate black people or whatever reason they've decided to come out for this guy. She knows those are the people who are paying her bills. So even though she's a thinking person, even though Destiny spoon feeds these very obvious talking points to her, and talking points is probably the wrong way to use it, because people will spin the, let's say you agree they're talking points. No, he's just giving her obvious political realities. He's saying this is a sequence of events. Can we live in a truthful society? That was one of the things that he first lays out when this debate starts, right? Which is, oh, hey, guys, can we at least agree that Donald Trump represents a society that is not rooted in the truth, that's not rooted in what's actually happened? And I think it's good for our country if we could get back to a reality-based political discourse instead of constantly talking about, oh, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. We can move the needle on policy instead. Again, she is the perfect example here of somebody who doesn't even agree with Donald Trump, but sees how gullible and idiotic his base is, and she is shameless enough that she'll just grift towards them even when it comes to our own country's elections, which is crazy. I'm not a pearl clutcher, but I'm like, you would think the election is where people would draw the line, where he very obviously and without question tried to subvert the will of the American people in our, what I will concede is an already very narrow democracy that we have to work with. It's absolutely unacceptable. And for her to go out here and make a fool of herself just for a couple extra bucks, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Rule that would allow for something along those lines. That has been debated by experts. I am not an expert on that, but experts do debate that.
To be clear, experts don't debate it. Are you aware that Eastman himself said on
How do you know? Why do you say that experts don't debate that when they do debate that?
Because there are none. Find them and bring them to me, and I will destroy all of them.
You don't think that there are
none.
Any experts that debate whether or not there are some procedural rules that would allow for certain things to happen during those procedures? You don't think that there's any expert out there that was arguing that? Because I heard numerous experts saying that there was this obscure rule that would allow something like that to happen.
Maybe from other countries, but not from the United States. No, there were no serious experts arguing this. That's why Eastman himself said that if it went to the Supreme Court, he said they'd probably lose 7-2. Then he said they'd probably lose 9-0.
7-2. So 2 of the Supreme Court justices, do you not think that they know the laws of this country?
Eastman was asked on First Pass, do you think that they would win in the Supreme Court? And he said, we would probably lose 7-2. And then he admitted they would lose 9-0.
Sorry to cut in, but I just saw this comment. You know what, Kim Iversen, you know what she reminds me of, Isaac? She reminds me of the kind of person that would take a political personality test, like an I side with test, that tells you what kind of ideology you are. She reminds me of the kind of person that would take one of those tests and then be shocked when it tells her that she's a fascist.
But actually, we don't know because it never went to the Supreme Court. But had it, maybe it would lose 7-2. I'm not saying it would have won, but the fact that there maybe would have been 2 or 3 justices that would have ruled in favor show that there is an obscure rule that potentially could have been used that Trump thought that would be possible.
If you're the progenitor, if you're the originator of the idea, and even you think that you would lose in the Supreme Court, but maybe 2 people will side with you, that doesn't seem like an idea that's hotly contested by experts.
Experts clearly, if 2 of them would agree to it, then maybe you wouldn't win.
This
but
is the kind of logic that Kim Iversen uses when
There's
she's trying to make her medical decisions, right? Kim Iversen is the kind of person that's like 99% of dentists recommend you brush your teeth. You mean 1% of dentists think I don't have to brush my teeth? Yeah, you're just siding with the majority, man, you sheeple. You don't have to brush your teeth, dude. People for thousands of years existed off of fruits and vegetables and all they did was chew tree bark, man. Their teeth were fine. Okay, they didn't fall out till they were 30. Okay, so you trust the medical experts, bro? It's just crazy, bro. It's just crazy. It's just bad judgment. But she just doesn't have to be, logical. She doesn't have to present a clear a clear argument, to her audience. She just can come out here and riff and doubt and be a skeptic, and people will eat it up because they're just she's reinforcing what they already believe.
Yep.
Many of cases that lose in the Supreme Court, it doesn't make them not worth challenging.
Do you think it would be in line with American democracy for the president to tell the vice president to ignore the will of the voters and choose who the next president is going to be?
I think that if the will of the voters was ignored by the electoral process and if the vote was rigged, then yes, absolutely.
Can we
it would
pause
be
it
the
one more time? I'm sorry.
responsibility of the president.
Guys, the only way to argue this is if the president won the popular vote and lost because of the Electoral College. I think that would be the only serious way for Donald Trump to argue what she's about to put forward. She's like, well, if the Democratic process was thwarted by the Electoral College. You mean how Donald Trump got into the White House in 2016 after he lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton? And then you want to put him back in the White House after he lost the popular vote and the Electoral College? And you're going to say, well, actually 10,000 votes in these specific states, that was all rigged. And therefore, the popular vote shouldn't count. Like, are you hearing yourself? Are you hearing yourself? You're not. You're just, again, throwing red meat to your base.
Of the United States to actually put that forward to protect democracy in this country. Depends on how you look at it. If it were Donald Trump who subverted the election and Kamala Harris actually wins and you believe in your mind or for sure that she actually won, wouldn't you want them to challenge that? Wouldn't you want them to try to do whatever they could to preserve democracy? The only reason you're against it is because of the person. And you've got to look deeper than that. It's got to be about the actual process, not the person. Donald Trump might not be your guy or my guy, but nonetheless, the process needs to be protected.
Yes, I agree with that. You already said that you don't know the process, so I don't know why you're appealing to the process. Donald Trump did try to challenge the election with 64 different court cases. He won one of them in an inconsequential Pennsylvania case that didn't really impact much of the vote at all. He lost the other 63. He was shot down in the Supreme Court a number of times, and he was shot down when he tried to present false evidence to state legislatures a number of times. Everywhere that he tried the process, he lost, and that ended up with him begging Pence to basically just choose him as the winner of the election. At what point can we not say this is probably anti-democratic?
How is that anti-democratic? He went through the process. If you challenge things in court and you lose in court, that's still using the process. Just because you lost doesn't mean that you're doing anything illegal. You're using the process. It was
illegal to break the ECA. He lost in the courts. That's why he told Pence, I need you to break the law and choose me to be president. That was.
Oh, how about directing the governor of Georgia to find votes, right? Find me some votes. What we've talked a lot about with conservative commentators, and especially these faux left, MAGA left, as I call them, commentators, right? Is that they never actually present any real evidence. They just present like a what if scenario, and then they build it up and they're like, see, if this were the truth, wouldn't that be rational? And it's like, dude, that's not what happened. And you also aren't providing any evidence to back up those claims. Like, one thing you can't deny is that Destiny debate preps. This guy's a killer debate prep. And so he will bring specific instances. He'll know everybody's name. He'll know the timeline, and he will know his points, everybody. And if you aren't prepared to debate an opponent that has prepared and is an excellent debater, you'll look like Kim Iversen in this just exchange, totally inequipped, totally on the back pedal, and just throwing junk, just making up hypotheticals when he has very legitimate grievances that she cannot address. And that's the entirety of the conservative movement online, particularly the faux left, because there is no way to justify being a leftist and also having the opinions that Kim Iversen has. It's completely illogical.
The process. He went through the courts and he lost. He didn't like the result. And then he asked Pence to choose him to be the winner of the election. This is anti-democratic.
I believe that that is part of the, if that's part of the process, that's part of the process.
Was it part of the process when they had people forge in 7 different states that they were the electors and that they wanted to vote for Trump?
Again, there are a lot of rules with the process. In fact, when the Democrats were upset that Donald Trump had won in 2016, they pursued similar tactics. They
Can
wanted
you name
to
a
actually
single
have
state where they had a false slate of electors made without the approval of the state legislature?
I believe
No.
Colorado actually in
No.
2016 did put forward some alternate electors, or even said that they wanted to have a compromise candidate send electors to do the election and instead put Mitt Romney in as a compromise candidate. I remember this very clearly.
Hypothesizing on what a state legislature said that maybe they want to do to maybe they did is far different
there
than
was a
Trump's
push for it.
campaign.
There
That's
was an
great
actual
that there was a
push.
push for it. That's great that some people might have pushed for it. Donald Trump and his underlings falsified 7 different slates of electors for Pence to choose on January 6th. This is anti-democratic. What could be
Also, I just wanted to say that like people like Kim Iversen love to bring up Russiagate and stuff and be like, "Oh, what do you mean January 6th was bad?" The Democrats also did their own January 6th, which was like Russiagate or something. But it's like we all acknowledged how stupid Russiagate was. Zach and I did. Kim Iversen to this day still complains about Russiagate coverage and what a lark it was and all that kind of crap. So it's like, if this is just the Republicans' Russiagate, then shouldn't we be condemning it the same way we condemned Russiagate for being hysterical, for being full of fake news and hyperbolic statements? You know what I'm saying? Like in the same way, can't we also call this out for what it is? I don't understand the inconsistency there.
less democratic than trying to change the outcome of the election of a state because you don't like the result?
Do you believe that the election results in Venezuela were accurate?
I'm not Venezuelan. I don't care about the results in Venezuela, but we had ways to challenge the results in the United States. Breaking the law and having the vice president choose you to be the president again, surely you can see the conflict of interest there, right? The guy that is president right now is saying that the election was rigged when he's running for election again. I mean, like, why would we trust this person who lost in every other forum?
In 2016, Democrats believed that the elections were rigged.
Hillary, what's the difference though? In 2016,
again, and you condemn that constantly, Kim Iversen. You're not like, yeah, why aren't you applying that same standard? Was Russiagate all just like part of the democratic process and it was just Hillary Clinton, like, believing that she had this legal route to go down and all this kind of, why are you giving excuses to Donald Trump but not the Democrats? It's crazy. Again, you don't have to give excuses to either one of them. We don't sit here defending Russiagate. I do think it was a nothing burger. I think that, obviously there was some stuff that was interesting that got revealed, but all of the main claims about Trump and Russia were totally overblown, and almost all of them were completely disproven.
100%. And here's the difference, the crucial difference between Hillary Clinton, who I have absolutely nothing but disdain and derision for, just like Donald Trump. I want to make that clear. I was with Gavin, hook, line, and sinker, calling Russiagate a hoax from jump. This is one of the reasons why I held on to some folks like Matt Taibbi for a little longer than we should have before we realized that they had already gone so far off the deep end, they were never coming back to the left. Okay. What I will say about Hillary Clinton is that she did accept defeat.
Yeah.
After the election I was over and it was clear that she lost, she said, I lost. Now, did she come up with a bunch of cockamamie bullshit for why? Yeah. And was that bad for the country? Yeah. And did that give them a road to start denying elections? Yeah. It all comes back to, the Democrats kind of digging
with
a
the
hole.
Media's help, by the way. The New York Times front page Pulitzer Prize winning expose about how the Russians control our democracy or whatever. I remember people were literally calling on the government to sanction another election because of that. They're like, the first one was tainted, so now we have to do it over again. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
But nobody stormed the Capitol, right? You can compare January 6th to like the pink pussy hat movement and see the obvious distinction. So while I could accept from Kim Iversen that this election denial paved the way for Donald Trump to dial it up to a fucking infinity, her insane, recoil from Russiagate, but then no pushback for Donald Trump when it comes to January 6th.
It gives away the game.
Everybody know that this is a dishonest actor. This is not somebody who is trying to articulate a real line of thought to you. It's just spoon feeding, clapping seals.
Yep.
Hillary conceded that night. Donald Trump said stop the count and tried to win the election early.
Did
You see the
Hillary really
difference?
concede, or
Yep, she did.
She conceded and then
She did.
continued to undermine behind the scenes Donald Trump's presidency, continue to delegitimize it, continue to go after him numerous times over and over after 2016.
You
I
can
don't
talk to
think
people
that
however you want. What could be less democratic than Donald Trump telling Pence, I want you to make me the president again.
It's so
I'm not
fun
happy
having
with these
destiny
court
go
results.
after
I'm not
other
happy
people.
with what's going
Yeah.
on. I need you to
Nothing
choose.
goes after us. But
And again, if Donald Trump just personally, privately said, hey, I don't think that I actually, I don't think that election was fairly conducted or whatever, and just like would occasionally say that on Fox News or something, I think people wouldn't really care nearly as much as they do. The reason why they care so much is because he actually acted on it. He actually tried to do a fake elector scheme. January 6th happened. Need I remind you, a very dark day in our democracy's history, guys. January 6th. Never forget. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. It's not like Donald Trump just, is in denial about it, or he's a sore loser like Hillary Clinton was. Clearly she can't get over the fact that she did a miserable job and she has to blame everybody but herself, right? That's obvious delusion and denial, and it's really unfortunate. But again, Trump took it to the next level by actually acting on it.
100%. Nobody would care if Donald Trump had just come around. Then what he says in his more mild-mannered moments is he'll be like, we were treated very unfairly. That's true. That we know they treated us very unfairly. Nobody would be saying that he did January 6th. Nobody would be trying to put him in jail for that. We could focus on the other crimes he's committed to put him in jail, right? That would be one less off the list. Donald Trump is a man who has committed countless crimes. There's so much to go after him for. Nobody needed to invent anything new, right? That was one of my big criticisms of Russiagate. Go after him for the emoluments cause, Saudi Arabian bank, or Bank of Saudi Arabia, whatever the fuck, hook, line, and sinker. Boom. Look at his Deutsche Bank connections. Look at the Trump, foundation scandals, all that shit, right? Like, move, get him out of here. That's how you could have easily gone after the guy. So I'm with Kim Iversen that wasn't a great strategy. Okay, if you were actually looking to oust the guy. But if Donald Trump had just gone around on Fox News and talked about how, well, it was a Hollywood elite, it was a foreign governments. I'll tell you what, Saudi Arabia loves Hillary. They love Hillary. These foreign governments, they love her. They have no respect for her. China takes advantage of them. China loves her. All this kind of stuff. Nobody would be comparing that to January 6th. And the fact that Kim Iversen has to try and convince us that those two things are synonymous, and not only synonymous, but it was more egregious what Hillary Clinton did. It's just asinine.
Yeah, 100%.
Me again to be president.
I don't think that's actually a clear characterization of what really happened.
It is absolutely what happened.
Well,
It is
from your
verbatim.
perspective, but I
No,
don't
from
think
the perspective of every single person involved. That's why Eastman, after it failed, was emailing Giuliani saying like, hey, remember that pardon list? I think I do need to be stuck on that. I think I'm going to need some pardons preemptively just in case. This is why Giuliani and Sidney Powell are being sued. It's why they've admitted that they lied about the voter fraud. It's why a lot of them are being disbarred now. Yes, this all happened. It's very public record, very open testimonies under oath. Yes, all of this happened.
That's why you don't
You
around with
agree
Destiny. He
that
does know
Donald
that's
Trump telling
legit.
the vice president,
You can
"Can
look
make
into
me
it right
president
now."
again?" That's like the least democratic thing you could ever do in a democracy.
I think that if you think that the election was rigged, I think that it is your responsibility to protect democracy.
So you think that Donald Trump should have
I
tried to
don't want
steal the
to,
election if he thinks that
Forgive me. I just want to. I want to give you a chance to each of you to get any last thoughts on this, but then I want to redirect us back to Kamala Harris per se.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I just think when we talk about democracies, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party could literally right now say, oh, here's my candidate. We're going to put this guy forward, and then you guys can vote for them or not in the general election. Both parties have a right to do that. They're private parties. They can do whatever they want, basically. The idea that Kamala Harris, who was the vice president, who was on the ticket, that delegates that switch from Biden to Kamala Harris is somehow anti-democratic. You don't have to vote for them in the general if you don't want to. Nobody's forcing you to do that. But somehow Donald Trump telling the vice president, hey, I need you to just pick me as the president. I need you to pick me and ignore, the will of the actual voters of the American population and just pick me to be the president again because I'm not happy with the results of the last election. That is the least democratic thing you could ever do in a democracy.
I think it was to delay in order to allow for more counting. I don't
What do you
think
mean
it was
delay?
No.
What does
just install
delaying
me
the
as
results
president
do?
again
was.
and anoint me as president. It
It was.
instead was
Again, why are you giving Trump the benefit of the doubt, bro? And again, she claims to not even actually be a Trump supporter. But my favorite kind of Trump supporters are the ones that like acknowledge the fact that he has fascist instincts. The one that acknowledge he doesn't care about democracy, right? Because if you're going to support this guy, well, at least save us the gaslighting, at least save us all of the bullshit. Because come on, it's as clear as day. Donald Trump is belligerent. He's a narcissist. He doesn't care about institutions, democracy, tradition, America. He doesn't care about anything but himself. And again, if you like what he stands for, if you like the movement that he represents, then be honest about it. That's fair. But again, don't try to gas him up as some like, he really cares about democracy. And he was really actually just intervening, on behalf of democracy because he thought it might have been rigged and he wanted to make sure that the American people got the right results. And it wasn't self-interested at all. Like, who are you fooling with this? Why are you doing this? It again, if you're going to defend the guy, at least be honest about who he is, please.
And I have the same exact position when it comes to Kamala Harris, Gavin. Don't tell me that she's going to do a bunch of shit that she's not going to do, but also don't lie to me that she's no different than Donald Trump, right? Like, we don't have to pretend that she's going to come out here and support Medicare for all. We don't have to come out here and pretend that she's going to be a panacea on the climate. But what we can come out here and very honestly say is that she is going to be night and day different than a second Trump presidency. Night and day.
Yep.
as a tactic to delay in order for the challenges to go through the
The
courts.
challenges had gone through and they'd all lost. All 64 cases were resolved by then. They had nothing live. Everything was dead. It was completely gone. That's why they wanted him to just choose him to be president again during the January 6th counting ceremony. Yeah.
Forgive me, Kim. I'm sure you've got a round in the chamber ready to fire, but I do want to just redirect us just back to Kamala Harris per se.
Okay, so regarding Kamala Harris, it is an undemocratic process to anoint the next person. Even if the Democratic Party is allowed to do this because they are a private company, I understand that the courts have ruled in that way. Shouldn't that bother you? If you are somebody who actually wants to protect democracy, it doesn't matter if these are private companies, if these are private corporations. They're supposed to be championing and standing for democracy. And in fact, that is something that the Democratic Party claims that they are holding the torch for, is democracy. Yet what they do is they completely undermine the voters. Kamala Harris has the lowest rating ever of any vice president in the history of this country. And yet they anointed her as vice president without even an open primary.
So this is where Kim Iversen actually goes on to explain what her issue is with the Democrats, with Kamala specifically, and why she's anti-Harris, essentially, because that's what this debate is about. It's pro-Harris versus no Harris. Kim Iversen isn't technically here to defend Donald Trump. She just decided to, for some reason.
Pro bono.
She's just decided to, spend the whole debate doing propaganda for Donald Trump, when really she's just here to argue against Harris, not for Trump. But either way, she's finally about to get into actually what her issue is with Harris and her platform.
Yeah, so all I heard was there was one Trump policy I've heard of called tariffs, and I don't like that. And I don't know what else he would do, but hopefully it would be better.
What I'm saying is that what exactly did Biden and Harris do that cleaned
Biden and
up
Harris
the Republicans'
managed,
mess?
I mean, they managed COVID decently well. Yeah, there was inflation, but there was less inflation in the United States compared to, the OECD, compared to the G7, compared to like every other Western country in the world. We're doing better than basically everybody else right now. Yeah, there was inflation. There was inflation worldwide. COVID was a huge, worldwide stimulus given to every single country on the planet. So of course, there's definitely going to be inflation felt. And Donald Trump didn't do anything to help inflation. Why would I think Donald Trump could help inflation when he had a booming economy and he didn't manage to cut the deficit? Donald Trump couldn't manage the budget when the economy was exploding. Why would I think he could manage the budget when the economy is having trouble? And now you've got the Fed actually announcing that they're going to be cutting rates because inflation has come under control. So it seems like the administration is heading in the right direction. Why would I trust Donald Trump, whose only economic policy he's put forth would increase inflation, which are tariffs? Why would I trust him to do anything good? Can you articulate like a single policy that you think Trump would do that would be good for the average American, that would actually help the economy?
Well, I could tell you what he wouldn't have done that Democrats did do that actually crushed our economy, that actually crushed the economies around the world during COVID in particular, and that was government shutdowns. That was
when he was president. That was when he was president. There was not a single. This woman is ahistorical. They do this shit all the time. It makes me want to pull my hair out. That face that Destiny's making knows that she doesn't know what kind of shit she just stepped in, because Destiny is gonna pummel her and make her feel and look so unserious, because she is so unserious. All of the lockdown happened under the Donald Trump. Let me say it again. All of the lockdown happened under Donald J. Trump. There was not a single day of lockdown under Joseph R. Biden. And do you know what, guys? A lot of people on the left, a lot of Democrats wanted Joe Biden to do that. And he said, hell no, Jack, COVID's over under my watch. And then he moved the on. And that was what all of the conservatives were clamoring for. And that was what a decent chunk of Joe Biden's base was saying, please, Joe, don't do that. And he's like, it's over, Jack. There's a new cowboy in town. Yep. And he moved on. So it is just absolutely ahistorical. On not only before she can even have a debate on what she agrees with Donald Trump on the man, she constantly lays in front of traffic for, right?
It's what is it with these anti-vax people? It's like somehow the biggest defenders of Donald Trump are also the ones that care most about lockdowns and the most about vaccines, seemingly always unaware of the fact that that all happened under Donald Trump. It's probably his biggest achievement, actually.
Do you know what it is? A true reflection of, Gavin?
That they're disconnected from reality and don't actually care about anything.
It's a cult of personality. It's a cult of personality. And so whenever they cannot ram that square peg into a circle hole, dude, they just cut off the leg and move on. And then they make up Joe Biden's like being there. It's crazy. This is one of the most ridiculous.
Yeah, Biden
L's
actually
I've ever
ended
seen.
the lockdowns. If I'm a Kim Iversen, a Nico House type that's obsessed with the lockdown stuff, then yeah, I'd be like the number one Biden bro. He ended the lockdowns that Donald Trump started. He said COVID is over. He said, it's all good. Take your mask off or whatever, right? So when I watched this the other night, I immediately, when I heard that, I was like, oh God, we have to react to this on air. I want to see Zach react in real time, because I knew you were going to, think that was just as crazy as I did. Let's go back and just experience it one more time. Then we'll just take in a couple more seconds of that, and then watch one more clip of this before we move on to our next topic.
Under control. So it seems like the administration is heading in the right direction. Why would I trust Donald Trump, whose only economic policy he's put forth would increase inflation, which are tariffs? Why would I trust him to do anything good? Can you articulate like a single policy that you think Trump would do that would be good for the average American, that would actually help the economy?
Well, I could tell you what he wouldn't have done that Democrats did do that actually crushed our economy, that actually crushed the economies around the world during COVID in particular, and that was government shutdowns. That was Democrats with their Democratic governors, and they were taking directives from top down, closing the economy. Of course, when you close the economy, you're going to end up with a lot of ramifications that are going to be very damaging to an economy. And that is not something that any Republican or Donald Trump advocated
He knows he's
for.
got her.
So I can tell you that
I think she knows too.
The world economy, everything was very bad. Under Biden, things have been bad with COVID. I don't know exactly what you think they did to clean up COVID or to help during that crisis.
You can tell the IQ of her
all
audience.
of the decisions, in particular lockdowns, have led to massive disaster.
Who do you think was the president during the majority of the lockdowns?
Who do you think actually directed the lockdowns?
Okay,
Where did
the
the
answer
So
lockdowns
you
was
admit
Donald
that he
Trump.
can't stop it. If that's the other thing. This woman is crazy, guys. She's so unserious, and she's been in her own wormhole forever. She literally is going to make the case. I'll tell you what Donald Trump wouldn't have done. He wouldn't have done lockdowns. Oh, well, when he was president, that was when like 95% of the lockdowns happening. Apparently, there may have been a few smitherings of states that were still doing it. I'll tell you what, in Missouri, there wasn't a single day of lockdown under Joe Biden. I'll tell you that much, okay? And
Red state.
then she's going to come around and tell you guys, great, get this. The cherry on top is, oh, but next time if he's president, then he'll stop the lockdown from happening. What?
Yeah.
You already told us that
And-
it wasn't his fault, that there was nothing he could do.
Yeah.
Oh, but this time he'll prevent it. This is the kind of low IQ, baseless bullshit that they just constantly yap to their audience, and then they eat it up.
Yep. And next time he won't hire Dr. Fauci, or next time he won't, push vaccines on behalf of Big Pharma. Like, oh yeah, he will have learned from all his mistakes. And this time, now that he's all, caught up to speed on what people like RFK Jr. think. He'll do the right thing because he's such a dumbass that he has to, be directed and absolutely screw up the country the first time around in order to do it right the second time around. If there is another pandemic, which there probably won't be. I don't even know why we're having this conversation. It's pretty stupid, but either way, yeah, let's listen to this just one more time and then we'll go on to the next clip.
Who do you think was the president during the majority of the lockdowns?
Who do you think actually directed the lockdowns?
Okay,
Where did
the answer
lockdowns
was
come
Donald
from?
Trump. The answer was Donald Trump.
The
So Donald
president-
Trump was the president during the majority of lockdowns, number one. Number two, when you say, what did the Democrats do? I mean, we could look at a ton of different things. They had the child tax credit, something that Kamala Harris wants to bring back. The child tax credit.
Anyway, that's the end of the first clip that I wanted to share with everyone. Thought that was pretty funny. And like I said, this is a consistent theme we see with the anti-vax crowd, with the people who seemingly care the most about lockdowns, vaccines, COVID-related stuff, the whole like Ron DeSantis crowd of people. Like you mentioned earlier, Zach, Kim Iversen was a Ron DeSantis supporter. People like Nico House were Ron DeSantis supporters despite pretending to be lefties. They just cared so much about this lockdown thing that they sacrificed every other principle and every other issue to support. They became single issue voters over lockdowns and vaccines and stuff. But now all of them, they just, collectively memory hole the fact that Donald Trump was in charge, that he was the one overseeing the lockdowns, that he was the one overseeing Operation Warp Speed, that he was the one who not only kept Fauci in control of the whole operation, but didn't prosecute him, didn't go after him for the corruption that they can never stop talking about. So all that's pretty funny. There's one more clip from the debate that we want to react to. Okay. This one is pretty interesting. And honestly, I haven't got a chance to get your reaction to this clip yet, Zach. And I actually really am interested in your reaction to it because, to be honest, I do have slightly mixed feelings about the content of Destiny's argument here and the lack of evidence that he provides. But I do want to, give people the chance to watch it for themselves before we give our analysis.
Sure.
Why are there so many former left-wingers turning into rank-and-file Republicans?
I think what you're actually saying is just there are some people very far on the left who are anti-establishment, who hate the United States, and these people find themselves in easy company when it goes to aligning with people on the very far right. And then I think that the fact that like the whole MAGA people are generally just anti-establishment means that it's very easy to get anybody else that hates the United States or hates the establishment or takes foreign money from people like Russia or Iran or China to all go and join their groups as well. So I think that it's a pretty easy alliance when you get a bunch of people that hate the state, hate the government, hate the institutions, and are just in general anti-establishment. And they
I don't
stand for
pretend to
nothing.
know how people are thinking or feeling, nor do I have any desire to insult people.
How, you don't know what people are thinking or how do you make comments on anything publicly?
I'm not going
ever?
to sit here and claim that all of these people hate America when they're participating in the democratic process. I'm not going to make those types of characterizations or call them basket of deplorables or do any sort of insulting of my fellow Americans because they're participating in democracy and they decide that the person that you want to vote for is not who they want to vote for.
Okay, well, that's great. I will call out people who I think take money from other countries and they don't declare it. People like who worked under Tenet Media, other people that are still operating in this media environment, people like yourself, probably. I think it's worth calling those people out when they have other kinds of allegiances to other countries.
Yeah, that's not that's the part that I want to jump in also and say that I agree with what Gavin said, but we'll keep playing.
You claiming, are you making did you just say that I'm taking money from any other, what did you just say?
Probably, almost assuredly, yes. And then number two, I think that it's worth calling out people that I feel have anti-American ideas. So for instance, when Donald Trump says he wants to destroy the Constitution or suspend the Constitution, I think that that's worth calling out. The Constitution exists above all three branches of government.
You're a piece of shit. Let me just say it. You're a piece of shit. Sorry, you just are. To make that kind of characterization.
She thinks that'll hurt Destiny, but it won't.
That you know nothing about. I've never taken a single dime from any other country, not even this country. I am completely independent. And for you to make that sort of characterization, that sort of slander, that sort of slur right here in front of everybody, you're a piece of shit. And I speak for a lot of people when I say that.
I'm sure you do. And I'm sure they're all flying to Moscow right now.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I have mixed feelings about it. I think that Kim got overly defensive. That's definitely true. It's like, all right, all right, chill. If you're innocent, then I don't know why you're getting so worked up here. Just laugh it off and move on. I think you're making yourself look more guilty by getting that defensive about it and saying it's a slur. Calm down. That being said, I don't know. If there is no evidence someone's being paid, then I don't know. I don't think that. I think that just in the same way that a lot of commentators get audience captured and just become like pro-America cheerleaders, people like Destiny. Let's be honest, Destiny is a total cheerleader, not just for American foreign policy, but also Israeli foreign policy. He justifies all of their terrorism. He justifies their genocide. He defends Netanyahu. Like it's disgusting, right? But I also think it's possible that Destiny just has bad opinions and that, he's maybe potentially audience captured. Maybe he really is just a neoliberal and that's his ideology, is odious as I find it, whatever. I don't really find it necessary to accuse Destiny of being CIA, right? Some people do. I don't really find, at least not on my podcast. Maybe it's one thing if Zach and I are joking around or in private or something, but as a commentator,
a long list of people we're pretty sure are CIA.
What was that?
I was making a joke that we have a secret list.
Oh yeah, we have a secret list for sure. But again, if we're sitting here and dissecting a Destiny clip for you guys and expressing our disagreements with his political opinions as they relate to Israel, I don't think it's necessary to imply that he's being paid by the American government or the Mossad or, anything like that. I just don't think it's really all that necessary unless it's so obvious that you just can't deny it, right? When it comes to the Jackson Hinkles of the world, yes, it's beyond obvious. Anyway, I forgot to throw this up earlier on screen because I just wanted to, I think this illustrates how politically incoherent the Kim Iversons of the world are. Just look at her top couple tweets. Here she is retweeting Jill Stein, and then guess who the next retweet is, Zach?
Oh God, I don't know. Donald Trump?
Nope. Let's find out.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh.